Hey, it's Kyle from Coz3D, and today we're getting ready to start a multi-part video on how we build these jetpacks. These are the Coz3D Jetpacks, and we are going to build the classic Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi styled pack, and we may even get into some paint on it as well, but we're going to give you the full build video. We've updated everything here recently in the past 2 years, so we've got several changes that we've released as time's gone on here and there. But today we're going to go over those changes, and we're going to go with a quick assembly video, and then we're going to break it down into sanding and painting and priming and all that good stuff. So here we go, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with unboxing this. Now, this is what you'll receive when it comes to you in the mail, and this one is a freshly packed one. So it's got all the updated parts in it, which even our old ones that we've had on the shelf, we always break them open as well and put anything that we've updated. We put the new parts in as we go on these builds, so if you order one tomorrow, you're getting what you see here. So the first thing I want to show you is we pack everything up as best we can in there. Things do get damaged, we know, so if you ever order one of these from us and you do get a damaged piece in it, let us know so that we can help to solve the problem. I'm actually just going to set this box down on the side. We're going to pull all of these pieces out, and then we'll go over each one. All right, we got all our parts out here in front of us, so we're just going to take the bubble wrap off. When we pack these, they do get jostled in shipping, so you don't want to grab a hold of this top plate because that is not attached. That will come off. And the back plate on this one, same thing. It's shifted as it's been sitting in the box. So you've got some parts on the inside. We're just going to pull all of these out. Easiest way to do this, remove the top plate. You can reach right down in here. You don't have to fight with the little door. Got the thrusters. We've got the rocket. Another rocket part and more thruster parts. Let's set that off to the side for just a minute. Get these unwrapped. You've got all of your covers that go on the front of the jetpack. Those are all taped together for you, and we'll break those open in a minute when we're ready. Also in the box, you are going to get a white box that has all of your small parts in it. If I can not rip it when I get it out. Looks like I'm going to, though. So all of your small greebly parts here, and your bottom cover, you probably can't see that on camera. We've got the thruster pieces that are in there, as well as the piano keys that are separate, your back clips, your beacon, your adjustment knob, your fins for your rocket, and also included in the kit is an instruction sheet. The checklist is on the front to make sure that we don't miss anything when we ship it out. Second page is just information, note from us, and then the third page is your actual schematic of what the jetpack looks like. So let's get this all laid out and show you where all the parts go. Now that we've got everything laid out on the table, it's time when these get shipped, these cylinders do get moved in, so just make sure that they're pulled out. Since we're just going to do a quick build video here just to show you what everything gets assembled to, I'm just going to use some double stick tape just to hold everything in place so you get the gist of it. Obviously nothing is currently glued in. We do have stoppers that are printed on the inside of the body that don't allow you to drop these cylinders in any further than what they're supposed to go. And obviously you're going to see some wiggling here and so forth, but just for the build section of this, we're going to keep it simple and not glue anything in yet, because you don't want to start gluing stuff together until after you've sanded it and primed it. And sometimes even most of these parts, I don't glue these cylinders in until they're painted and finished. Maybe not fully weathered, but they're pretty much done. So let's just use our tape here and let's get this out. Stick this right here. So your first panel, I tried to pick one that had some white filament in it so that we'd be able to distinguish it here differently on camera. So most of the kits actually come in all silver, but in this case we needed some white to offset that a little bit. So our first panel piece here goes all the way up to touch the top plate. And you should be able to tell the difference in orientation when you dry fit it to begin with. That would be so kind as to stay on there for me. We're going to grab our second panel front piece all the way up to the bottom of the top plate. And they do sit right up next to the cylinder up in here. So now that we've got those two on, let's move over to the other two. And I'm not promising that these are going to stick, but we're going to give it the old college try here. All the way to the top plate and slide it right on there. All right, so that pretty well takes care of the front panels. And I'm actually going to take these off because they're not currently sticking. I may throw them back on off camera here in a moment. I talked about the two top cylinders. They do have stoppers on them. The top plate, quickly talk about that. Glue on the back, glue on this front edge here, and anywhere where it makes a contact to the body, I would glue that on with CA glue. And then you're going to have, I typically do get a clamp here and just hold that all together as it's curing so that the seam gets covered up. Then we reposition our bottom cylinders here. General rule of thumb, what I do is I come straight off of these edges here and I try to line them up with the center of the bottom cylinder. Now, all of these caps do come unscrewed. Well, I'll show you that later as well when we go into the painting. Just keeps it a lot easier to do your different colors. Same with the top, they unscrew as well. And now that we're this far, we're going to move over to the thrusters. The thruster pack that comes with it has all the greeblies for the thrusters in it, as well as these two really small L pieces. The L pieces actually are going to go on this center piece once we get to that. Now it will take some sanding, but the front greebly does go into the front of the cylinder of the thruster here, and I don't want to get it stuck in there right now for the painting process. And the other side is where the round indented piece goes into. So kind of gloss over that quickly, but at least you get the idea. Now, since this is a raw kit that just came out of the box, we might have to do some sanding to get these also attached. In your little hole here in the thruster, this is how the thrusters attach. Yep, we are going to have to do a little bit of quick trim here. That'll do. And these can actually be glued after you sand them and prime them as well. We don't want to get too far on that yet. The side thrusters simply screw in. These are made intentionally to screw in so that they do have a little bit of movement to them. If you want your thrusters pointing back, forward, you know, whichever direction. But that way, you can also remove them if you're traveling. And that's not going to stay in there, but you get the gist of it right now. Another quick orientation thing on the thrusters. And yes, you can't see this. The front center piece here actually lines up with the center of these two indentions there. So you want to make sure that when you glue these, that they do actually get correctly glued in. Let's see, we're about done already. Your center tank, of course, again, it's just going to screw into the top plate. Might take a little bit of work to get it in there the first time. After that, it goes in really nicely. Once we get that screwed in, I do want to point out that the top of that also removes for the rocket. So this is actually how we disassemble the jetpack. I never take this tank out. I always try to get the rocket out itself. So let's move over to the rocket. Again, pretty straightforward. This is why we send you a detailed picture of how this all goes. That's your rocket. It's that simple. Quick note, when you're building the rocket, your fins actually go into the rocket so that they're flush on the front but stick out here on the bottom. Now, we don't provide it anymore, but we do have a way to wire these up. We use just a piece of piano wire to stick in through the thruster or the rocket and the, yeah, I'd have to drill that out just a hair. Let's get that cleaned out so they'll slide right through. I used to have to do this on camera, so juggling this stuff in a different way is not easy. So we hit that center rocket fin and we go on through. Now I left this one long intentionally. That's the idea. It simply goes through both sides. I always trim these so that they're flush with this collar, but that does allow the grappling hook rocket to articulate if you so choose. Otherwise, if you're looking for the easy route, you can always just glue these straight in. All right, so now we've covered the rocket. Once that's all together, you can just screw that piece back in. And a couple minor things here to note as well. The front cover does have an orientation hole in it with a pin, and then you would follow that up with your little L pieces here. They pretty much only fit one way, and it's just a three-dimensional thing that was added to the original kit. I don't know what purpose or where they're from or anything like that, but those go in there. And let's talk about the thruster, or the bottom vent cover rather. If I can get these, might have to zoom in on this, hopefully not. This actually does get attached on the inside of the jetpack. Hopefully I have that somewhat lined up with the camera. Again, sometimes you have to trim that out just a little bit to get it to fit in there, and it would just glue straight in. And that's the effect that we're looking for once it's in there. All right. Let's move over to the piano keys. Super quick description of how the piano keys work, and let's get this propped up here real nice. The piano keys are resin printed, so there's a lot less sanding involved. Obviously you have to have your front covers on here, but each one of these, the orientation is where they slant down. They point towards the bottom of the pack, and you've got a couple that are straight and a couple that are slanted. And they are pretty self-explanatory when you put these in. Again, I always tell people when they're doing a build of our packs, make sure you dry fit everything. Make sure everything fits the way you think it should fit before you glue anything down. That way you know exactly what you're getting into. And as you can see, each one's a different size, so it should be pretty simple to line all these up. And you'll have to forgive the extra tape that we have here. The wider of the single ones, we have a wider one and a narrow one. The wider one actually goes right here, and the single skinny one does go on the inside of that front cover right there. So hopefully that gives you an idea of the orientation of the piano keys. Now let's move over to the back clips. So if you want to mount this onto a standard scuba tank frame like they did in the original trilogy, you'll have to get your own scuba tank frame, but these are 3D printed. We have tested these. They are pretty rigid, but for the 6 pounds that the pack is, they should be fine. After you put all that work into finishing and painting your kit, you might want to look into getting some metal ones. That's just preference. Personally, my kit actually has the 3D printed plastic ones, and I've never had a problem with them, never had any warpage with them. They are printed on a little bit higher infill than we normally do on the rest of the pack. But if we come around here to the back, you'll see that there are already orientation holes, and they just simply attach these two clips attached to the front here. The thinner clips actually attach to the back. Now, the hole on one side is much larger than the hole on the other side. That is intentional so that you can run a screw through that all the way into the back. This is what sits down on the bar if you have your scuba tank rig, and takes all the weight off of your shoulders. And I think for the most part that is pretty much it on just the quick down and dirty assembly of this. Like I said, a lot of it's pretty self-explanatory, and you can follow along with the kit. The back access panel, there are holes in the panel, there are holes in the kit. If you want to put magnets in there, that's what I do. That way you can access the internal workings of it. You will notice there are 2 holes up here on the top plate, and what that was intended for, get some of this extra out of the way so that you can see what I'm about ready to do. On this side over here, this is where your beacon goes, and a lot of people like to have electronics to it. There is a hole on the top of this, and there's a hole in the back of this, but you'll notice currently there is no hole in the body. The reason there's no hole in the body is because some people just prefer not to have it wired, and we didn't want to mess with the structural integrity of the body. So when you're ready to attach your beacon and get everything wired up, we'll go through this step a little bit later. I drill my hole into this guide here, and it will come through in the back so that you can run your wire from the internal all the way up into your beacon. So I think that's pretty much it on this part of the build. What we're going to start doing is we're going to start sanding each and every single piece. We're going to start filling in some minor imperfections that might be in the print, and then we'll get to priming and eventually painting. So thanks for joining in. Make sure that you like and subscribe, especially if you want to see more of these build videos, and make sure you give us a thumbs up. Mount that YouTube algorithm for us, please. You can always check us out on Coz3D.com. That's sends you a link direct to our Etsy store where you can purchase this kit. One notable thing is I am working with the 15-inch kit today in this particular build, and we do have an 18-inch kit as well, but that's more of a custom request type kit because of the size. And appreciate your time. Like and subscribe. We'll see you.